James David mastered the tight and technical Barber to become the first driver this season to take a second victory. Critically, this also extended his points gap over both Morales and Avital, who followed him home in that order. But David might have to ensure his pace is enough to put him ahead in qualifying today, because now the drivers are up against the diminutive Lime Rock Park. We'll see how it all shakes out as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the PRL GT4 Clubsport Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Buhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Lime Rock is both a great fit for GT4 cars, yet a nightmare for racing. Short, swift, and lacking heavy braking zones, drivers entered today preparing for frustration. Let's head over to our track guide to understand why it's so hard to pass here. Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or as most fans know it, Mosport. This circuit to the northeast of Toronto is a rarity in the world of racing today. Safety standards and the desire for more overtaking opportunities has caused most tracks to alter their layouts. Welcome to Lime Rock Park. Located in the northwest corner of Connecticut, this unassuming little track has garnered a surprisingly passionate following. Its unique aspects create a circuit not only full of character, but consistently challenging even to modern race cars. While it has 4 different possible layouts, on the classic version, only 7 corners are split along a 1.5-mile track, with just a single one of them turning left. Though simple in appearance, most drivers will tell you that trying to be fast here is anything but. The run down the front stretch into Big Bend offers pretty much the only viable passing spot, but it's a double apex right-hander which lures drivers into taking it too fast. The uphill is also scary quick considering its lack of runoff and can sometimes cause cars to get airborne over its crest. Then, on the opposite end, the downhill sends cars diving into a quick sweeper, which requires a good exit speed in order to defend or attack back into the first corner. Modern racing mostly uses the more recently built chicanes, especially at the uphill. But one of the most unusual facts about this track is that the races are never held on Sunday. Due to a legal agreement with a nearby church, events must take place on Fridays and Saturdays. The confines around this place are tight, the passing opportunities are few, and mistakes are usually punished with race-ending damage. With most other road courses now being built with upwards of 3 and 4 miles in length, this track stands out. But in an age of multi-million-dollar facilities and flashy buildings, this quaint small circuit manages to keep fans coming back with its intimate and grassroots setting. Love the beautiful update that iRacing has put on recently in the past year for this track, as it's the very first one they scanned originally, but we're using the new version. And Ozzy, we often have said it on the channel, it's basically the bull ring for road course racing, this place.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lime Rock Park. 7 corners, 1.5 miles, 2.5 kilometers, as you can see, in Connecticut, United States. Lakeville, it's a beautiful location. Originally, they were planning to build a mountain course here too, but that never happened, so we have 1.5 miles. One of the circuits which will be familiar to all of these drivers, because it is one of the circuits that you start out your iRacing career on, along with places like Summit Point and Charlotte Oval and the road course and Okayama. It's one of those places where you will get your gear on with Mazdas and eventually Skippies and things like that, and GT4 for Clubsport racing. Well, we have a lot of experienced drivers here. They will be familiar. So tonight's race, it will be all about how much of that information do you dare to use, Joe?
Yeah, because it certainly is very close to the barriers around a lot of this track. Now, the GT4 Clubsport Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Today's broadcast is also brought to you by SimRacing Canada. Pay less, get more with SimRacing Canada's custom aluminum rig build for the starters to the pros. Your vision, our solution. Find out more at simracingcanada.com. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, the championship, which is well underway at this point, is being led by James David, as I mentioned. Morales and Avital, who finished in second and third, are now tied for second place in the points. And then it gets even weirder. Byron Daly and Julio Palacio. Palacio has actually looked very quick in the warm-up today, are tied for what is effectively fourth down there. So bit of an odd situation. We're going to get some people in official order and not have to be doing countbacks after today's race unless we get something weird with the bonus points. But let's go to the team's championship, Ozzy, and go through that as well.
Well, it was tied in the Drivers' Championship. It is certainly tied in the Teams' Championship as well. SRT eSport Blue leading their sister team Green by 8 points. Then you got SRM Green, you got NinjaTrader in fourth place, and you got Davidson Motorsports Porsche rounding out your top 5. And won't be hard to guess what those guys will be driving, eh?
That's for sure. Well, speaking of what cars people will be driving, let's go through the race details, which includes that. There are 2 makes of GT4 cars that they can now use in this series. The Porsche, as we just mentioned, and the BMW M4 GT4. Each has their own set of strengths and weaknesses. The race distance in this series is 45 minutes. They have an open setup, and these are a little bit more basic cars, but they got a little bit of stuff that you can do in them because they are used in real racing out there, even though they are tend to be at a little bit more of the club level. The incidents can get you some penalties. There you see listed there what you'll suffer if you get a little greedy at this track, and then some bonus points as well that you can pick up if you are good as well. And they do have a spare car if they get some damage. That could come in handy out there today with the one expected pit stop for fuel that the drivers will have to take. Raymond Day currently holds the provisional pole out there, and we'll get to covering a little bit of the qualifying in a second. But first, we want to mention, if you're looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions, from official series sponsorships to commercial placements, we have advertising options customizable to suit your company's needs. Follow the link in the description below to learn more here on GSRC. See, it is very, very crowded out there in the qualifying. The number 7 of Raymond Day kind of stuck out here right now. Usually in most tracks, especially with these lower powered cars, Ozzy, we talk about wanting to hook up and get a little bit of a draft, but I think it's going to be the reverse here today.
Yeah, definitely so, Joe. Definitely so. Especially when you consider that with these GT4 cars, you want to get a couple of laps under your belt before your proper fast timed lap. Your first lap is seldom the fastest, especially how short this Lime Rock Park track is. Remember, you just got 1.5 miles here to get your tires heated up. So you really, really want to find yourself some space, but you also have to kind of juggle in consideration that when you are in that fast lap, when you are in that zone which counts, that those couple of laps, you don't want anyone slow in front of your face. And with how little draft these cars have, the BMW and the Porsche, and with how difficult it is to overtake with these cars anyway, the draft aspect, no, it's not going to play a factor. If anything, you want to get away from everybody. And I'm looking at through these drivers, and one guy who has done that pretty well right now is Giulio Palazzo, car number 194 in the 5th place. He's got a lot of room in front of him. He's still got 5.5 minutes in the clock, and he's sitting pretty in the 5th place, and I think he can climb his way up that.
Yeah, right now he's got very small margins between himself and most of the top 6 there in front of him. He is one of those in the top 5 in points that we were talking about before. Among the others that we mentioned, our points leader, David, currently sitting 2nd. And Diego Morales, one of them that is chasing him, sits in 3rd, less than a 10th back from him. But where is Avital? He's actually sitting at 8th now that I spot him on the timing board. So Simon has got some work to do compared to his rivals in the points.
Yeah, definitely so. Especially given how difficult, as we mentioned already, and as we've well established in the past at Lime Rock Park, being a staple of iRacing calendars for over a dozen years, and I dare say will be a staple for a dozen years more. And every time we talk about how difficult it is to overtake here, but that's really a factor. So, Joe, qualifying performance, being high up there in the field, will be even more important than usual. Not only because overtaking is difficult, but also because it is kind of a narrow track, and especially the uphill corner, it can be a bit hairy on the first couple of laps. So you don't want to be caught up in that mid-pack mayhem that often tends to happen around these parts.
That's the thing that I find fascinating. And I guess they can get away with it, well, not just because it's a virtual world and obviously there's no safety concerns, but a lot of series seem to have elected to use the new chicane version that they have in this newest scan, but not so with these guys. So, kind of curious what that's going to do both for the racing and for the attrition, which tends to be a factor in races here at Lime Rock.
Well, yeah, you got the choice of using the chicane, which is terrible. No, it's not as bad as people say, but in terms of flow, it does kind of ruin it, and it also ruins the next corner, which normally is a challenge. But when you use this layout, you end up going wide on the uphill. Oh boy, you're going into a blind corner at 200 k's an hour or whatever these cars will do there, and then you're just gonna smack bang into someone who has just bounced off the wall. So that's not pretty either. By the way, 100 miles an hour, about 160 k's an hour would be the speed through the uphill corner. Just check that. So, it's not a pretty proposition either way. As on the background, you saw somebody taking a rather ancient path, maybe trying to find the mountain course just on the shot there. No need to go to it, but just I'm using view.
Those drivers continue to rifle across the line. Manon here trying to set a faster lap, and it looks like he's not able to go quicker that time by. There we see some drivers also coming out from the pit lane and trying to get themselves into a good spot. That's another thing I worry about is both the pit exit and pit entry at this track. Both kind of have their own unique perils, I'd say, Ozzy.
Yeah, definitely so. The pit entry more so because you never expect it to be as tight as it is. You turn right, okay, you're gonna be well out of the racing line, that's true. But the thing is, when you come into the pit entry, some people have to brake a little bit earlier than they would want. And if you don't expect it running behind someone, okay, they're taking defensive line. Once you take the right side into the main straight, you're gonna be thinking, oh, they're taking defensive line, you're gonna drop them. And then suddenly they stump on the brakes to go to the pit lane and you're gonna be in an accident. And then it's very narrow and it's very easy to hit the tire barrier there, do a David Coulthard, so to speak. And the pit exit, on the other hand, well, that's a little bit safer because you're coming out on the right side. Once again, you're coming out well into view. But if you come out right in front of the battle, as you can see here actually on bar 3, you can see someone coming in, but you don't see them for too long. So you're gonna be caught out if you are on the inside line and trying to pass someone.
Yeah, and it is a bit tight here. It's not the widest of tracks. 3 into 1 is probably not going to work out too well, especially for the driver on the very outside. Byron Daly, that lap through, was now not able to improve on his 53-1. Typically, we're talking about very few laps left or the very last lap at this point, but drivers coming across can still come around for one more after this one. Espinoza, who's still trying to climb onto the front row, sits in fourth with about 9/100ths, actually just under a tenth here to try and get up to the pole. That tells you how small the margins are with how quick the laps go by. It really is almost more like an oval in how things race around here.
Morales goes first.
Ooh, and that is going to change the game. So Day, who I think just had an off. Trying to see if he hit anything. No, he didn't hit anything, so I think he can get around to start a lap.
He's definitely taking a long line, and I'm not sure if he's stopping. He's taking the old West Bend, and yeah, he's gonna be parking there. Yeah.
Is he trying to? He might be trying to find clear air. No, I think you're right.
No, because it's
too
little time. Yeah.
I thought maybe he could. He does pull out, but yeah, he can't get to the line in 10 seconds here. Just too far back. Espinoza, who works his way out and onto the left-hander, the only left-hand corner of the lap. The checkered flag now comes out. James David not going to be able to improve. He's slow on his lap. Rodriguez abandons his. Looks like same thing for Kruijmans. And then Cochran finally going to take a lap. A 54.2. That's his quickest. That's going to actually not take him up the order. He stays in 26.
Yeah, 54.2, and well, we haven't got too many drivers on track still. That's Piotr Mergula coming across the line, does not improve, 54.0 and stays 10. Pretty low down the order, 18th at the moment. Christopher Richards as well coming across the line here and improves just a little bit, goes 53.8. Tremblay 10 behind him, he's sitting in 7th place and will be remaining there at the moment. So still final laps coming through, Joe, and after that we'll get to your grid, which of course is always interesting here at Lime Rock Park, especially, and I want to point this out beforehand, especially as the highest rated BMW, the highest BMW on the grid will be in the 6th place.
So it certainly seems like it's a Porsche favored track, at least up at the top of the field. So that grid is set. Let's go through the order. It is Diego Morales starting on the pole with Raymond Day starting in P2. Then on the inside of row 2, James David down in 3rd. We said he had to be up towards the front, and he's sort of there, but he'll have his work cut out for him to try and get up to the top spot. Andre Espinoza will be starting in 4th. You've got Arnaud Genet in 5th place with Julio Palacio in 6th. Jean-Marc Tremblay starts P7. Simon Avital, 3rd in the points rather, is all the way down in 8th spot here at this start. And Byron Daly will be behind him starting in 9th. Outside of row 5, Sebastian Prue.
On the 11th place, outside of your top 10 will be James Nunn, and alongside him, Kenny Rodriguez. He's got a great qualifying, starting in the 12th place. David Cristelli 13th, Brett Barrett 14th, Philip Pagnan 15th, with Ted Lowendig 16th, Matt Odell, Pierre Margula, Christopher Richards, and Brian Matthews rounding out your top 20.
Might not seem like a lot of cars, but this is going to be very, very packed out here. Mateus Bellavance in 21st. Aaron Law starts 22nd. Spencer Simkovich will be P23, and Frank Kruijmans will be 24th. Ryan Hotham, 25th on the grid, followed by John Cochran, who is outside in 26th. Stacy Hunter, 27th. Sean Foes, 28th. And Glenn Bowen, last of the field, all 29 cars, did get a time in qualifying with the number of laps that they were able to put down in 15 minutes. So chances were good we'd get all of them down on the board. Question is, how many of them will actually see the checkered flag with what is we're expecting to be, let's call it a chaotic race, to put it politely, Ozzy?
Chaotic maybe? I don't know. I mean, it could be surprisingly clean if the drivers have taken the necessary precautions, which is to say they're not too anxious to get past the lap traffic, they know to give room, they know not to put their nose in, but with how easily these cars spin, especially if you hit someone on the side or the rear quarter panel, these cars spin really easily, and the reason is they got stability control. They got ESC in them, electronic stability control, as well as the traction control and ABS. So when you get a little bit of a bunt to the side, you're actually leaning on the stability control all the time when you're cornering, and that's why the car gets thrown off balance so easily. But I got a trivia question for you, Joe, about Lime Rock Park.
Okay.
So the first corner, it's known as the Big Bend, right? Yes. What is the name of the next corner on this track?
So is this a trick question? Because they consider the first corner as 2 corners, technically. Or...
Yes, but the next corner. So the one the leaders are coming through right now.
The left-hander. So I've always seen it called the left-hander. Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
I wasn't sure if that was incorrect or not. So unfortunately, my brain keeps wanting to call it left hook, but I know that's VIR. So I feel like that would be a
that's Mike Tyson.
I know
that's Mike Tyson, mate.
There you go. All right, the uphill, the next one that they're coming through, we talked about a lot. Very scary corner. I can't imagine doing this thing in real life in these cars and just blasting through there. We saw on the track guide that some cars in iRacing even are able to get air over that thing with how much speed you can carry through. But just 2 more corners as they now come through West Bend. Diego Morales has the pole. If he can hold on to that spot down by turn 1, that'll put him in a good position, at least until they hit the traffic. We'll see what happens from there. It could be anybody's game. Now through the diving turn, and the Porsche pace car is going to give way to Diego Morales. How is our first driver, Palacio, in the BMW going to fare back there? Green flag is out. Morales is a very good start. Oh, and they're squeezing off to the side as Day tries to push David down into the grass. They finally hit Big Bend, and they're mostly single file among the top 5. Everything's looking pretty steady. So as they come through Big Bend, I think we've got a clean start.
We do have a clean start. Notification for the viewers. Matt Odell, who was due to start 17th, he will be starting this race from the pit lane. Otherwise, we are clean through the first couple of corners. The left-hander as well as the right-hander.
About the uphill, the cold tires, don't forget, as well. Our leader, Morales, is starting to pull away from Day, watching the drivers hop their way over there, and I'm not seeing any issues yet. Thankfully, I think we're going to get pretty much the whole field through lap 1. So down and across the line, the gap as they finish lap 1 is going to be a whole second over Raymond Day.
Yep, indeed, and they are single file through the main straight. Couple of cars going too wide now. We got Barrett and Lowendick for the 14th place going too wide through the first corner. Lowendick trying to go on the inside with his BMW, but gonna run out of room a little bit and just braking nice and early. And now this is where we come to the overtaking or the waiting phase of this race. It's gonna be about 40 to 50 laps. We actually made a little bit of a bet in the commentary book regarding that one earlier on. How many laps this race is going to be, but you know, either way, it's gonna be a long race. We're gonna get a lot of repetitions. So you're just gonna have to play the patience game. There's no point trying to force an overtake right now. But yeah, look at Morales. He's doing so well out there.
Wild, as we rode on board with Dave here. He was under threat from David, who goes off track. He catches it and keeps it from hitting the wall. Espinoza is there to pounce, though. He's going to get into third. Is he going to fall all the way down to P5? Not quite. It looked like Palacio had to think about it. He's going to get blocked off, though, as James David stops his error from becoming worse and tries to come back at the overtaking Espinoza, but no fruit is born from that little poke down into the left-hander.
No, I think it was more of a show of intent, but yeah, that's gonna battle James David's age so much at this point because he made a mistake so early on at the end of lap number 2 and lost a position, and he knows that he has pace, he has tremendous pace. He was just trying to follow and force Raymond Day into a mistake. Now he finds himself outside of the podium and finds himself with the necessary need to overtake, gets great speed out downhill, and forces Espinosa to defend. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here.
He's going to have to do it the long way around a Big Bend, which doesn't often work out. And in fact, he already loses grip very early in the corner. Lets Espinosa back through. Now we hop on board with Palacio as he watches the battle in front of him. This is really checking a bunch of these cars up. Jeunesse, Avital, Tremblay is in line in this train that's roaming through, and even Daly can go as far back as 10th.
Yeah, indeed, and it's all because this is such a fast track. And the faster the corner, the more important the correct racing line becomes. And as these guys, as you saw, Espinosa defended the inside line into the Big Bend. He's losing time on the entry. David's losing time on the entry. Palacio's losing time. Chinez losing time. All of those guys behind are losing time because the leader of that pack cannot get anywhere, so to speak, because they have to defend their position. David trying once again on the inside. This is very late. This is too late. He's gonna slide wide. There's no way he can hold it. Yeah, there he goes on the grass. Nice try, but a little bit too anxious so early on. That's gonna send our championship contender very far back indeed.
This is highly unusual. David down to 10th because of that move. Everybody in the train I just mentioned slipped on by, and now he's trying to hold off Rodriguez and Nunn. He's won 2 races, and as I mentioned, the only driver so far this season who's won more than a single race. So something is really not clicking today for James David here at Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, and the reason is that you could make that overtake work maybe with an open wheeler, maybe even with a GDE car or something. But the amount of electricity we talked about in these cars, the electric drive rates, when you come into the corner and brake that late, the car is going to be like, the computer on that car is going to be like, like an Aussie bartender when you're asking for some credit maybe, or when you're asking for some credit and maybe some drinks on the house. It's gonna be like, yeah, nah, mate. You know, you're coming the corner, the locks are saying nope, we can't brake, the car stability control is going haywire, and the ABS is going haywire. And if you try to fix it with the bit of the right foot, throw the car into the slide, and the traction control is gonna say no. So you have to brake much earlier than that, and you saw him. It's interesting how you didn't see a single puff of smoke. You just saw him going wide. And that's what these cars are all about. You have to be, even though they got all these safety nets, all these driving aids, you have to still be, oh, and Kenny Rodriguez spins into the wall. And gonna spin on the track as well. This might be big.
2, 3 more cars get into him. That's
Margula.
Richards, Manon. Yeah, you mentioned Margula. That's the green car that we saw clatter into him.
Yeah, here we go. And Rodriguez, he's gonna come across the uphill and then into the next corner and gonna lose it on the exit. And very usual place to do it, Joe. And all the mayhem starts from there because it's a blind spot. Into the wall and boom, into the wall again. And all of these guys coming in, nowhere to go, really. They can't see until it's too late.
That was Manon in the bright green car that got into, well, actually the back of the car in front of him, but even still, you're going to see how blind he is. That big BMW. Wow, yeah, just he had no idea there was a car there.
Yeah, boom. And the only clue you're getting, Joe, at that point is the yellow flag. And that's why the yellow flags exist. Lesson for all the kids. Respect the yellow flags.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with iRacing, there's no actual rule to slow you up when other than your own self-preservation, I guess you could say. Meanwhile, as we come back to Avital here, who is trying to fight with Genet. This is for 5th place. Of those cars that had damage, I think pretty much everyone except Kenny Rodriguez got their spare car. We also had, I believe, Barrett in and out with his own solo incident many laps ago, and has taken his spare car, and that's a big off right there. Avital is going to take that one with ease.
That's a mistake, and that's one way to overtake here. And meanwhile, further behind them, you still have James David in this race, mind you. Sebastian Proa ahead of him and James David right behind him. And David's gonna go once again to the inside. Is he gonna pay the same price? No, he manages to hold on to it this time around.
He's got a lot of work under his on his plate to try and get back to at least something resembling where he was before. Now, we were on board, I think it was with Avital. Yeah, with Avital. Was that Peter Windsor on his windshield banner? I was trying to figure out who that was. There it is.
Windshield banner. Yeah, I think it might be. I'm not that good with commentators, you know. It could be him or it could be... No, it's not Murray Walker, is it?
No, it's definitely not Murray Walker. We'll have to ask him. Hopefully he gets a podium. We get to ask him, what in the world have you done with your banner? As he continues down the front stretch. Very close to Margula, who is a lap down, so that's not for position. Actually, poor Piotr is just having to wait forever to find an opening. As off screen, he eventually gets it going. Meanwhile, the very bright car of the number 23 up to 5th. He's got a bit of a 2-second gap to get up to Palacio. And Julio has climbed from 6th to 4th. Avital from 8th to 5th. There is our leader right now, Diego Morales, who has been at the top spot since the drop of the green in that number 22. And the gap has extended since that first lap when we called him at a second ahead of the car behind. Raymond Day is now 2.6 back from him.
Yeah, but you know, interesting days for Diego coming up. If you jump on board with him, you actually saw it on the shot there as well. He's coming up to traffic now. He's got Glenn Bowen, he's got Philippe Magnan, he's got Brett Barrett as well right ahead of him. These 3 guys are going to be the first ones he's going to catch up. And, you know, even though they know the leader is coming, they have the blue flags, they have all the information in the world. Lime Rock Park, it's easier said than done in terms of letting the leader through safely. So he might be losing a little bit time here. And you can see Glenn Bowen just getting well out of the way. Good job by him.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder, because it's such a shorter lap and because traffic's probably going to be an issue for pretty much the remainder of the race now, Is it possible to maybe pull a little bit more of a different pit strategy from others? Not saying going very early, but could be more variation potentially, since more laps mean less fuel taken, to try and jump someone coming in 2, 3 laps earlier?
It could be. I mean, if you're coming into a big bunch of traffic and you are within your pit window, then sure, pull it off. I mean, try it at least. Especially if you know those guys haven't pitted yet, because you might be able to evade the gaggle altogether. Now, the thing is that as a driver, you can't really predict where you fall into. That's where you need a spotter. Now, usually in endurance racing, where traffic is more of an issue, you sometimes do make pit calls based on the traffic, if it's between one lap, even if you try to go as long as possible. But here, since you got such a wide pit window, you would really need a spotter to tell you, do some calculations, okay, you're gonna fall here, or you're gonna fall there. But there is only one driver in this grid who actually has a spotter, officially registered to the session, and he's 172, and he's Ted Lowendick, who has Stacey Donegan actually as his spotter for this event. So a bit of a shout out there as well. And we watched the battle for P number 9, I do believe.
Yep, we're on board with Prue, who's going in very deep, as well as Daly going even deeper in the Bimmer that we see very close to our camera now. That is the lapped car of Bowen that they just went by. But Daly has been putting immense pressure on Prue since I turned my cameras over here. Now that we see them, it is looking like he might be able to get something done, but he's been a little shaky. Last lap through here in the uphill, Byron nearly lost the car as the rear of it came out over the crest. This time looks a lot better.
Yeah, he was still wiggling a little bit though. There's that tiny bit of a wiggle as the rear end, steps out a little, but all he needs to do is not to panic about it, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's, staying on the throttle, and he's being very brave here. You can see on the last corner, going a little bit off the track as well, using all of the room that's available and then some, trying to maximize that entry. And I think there in front of him, Sebastian actually broke a little bit too late into the first corner. He was able to get away with it this time around. But once you get deeper into the race, the tires start wearing out. You're not gonna get away with it forever.
I believe we had a change for third. Palacio, I think, overtook Espinoza. And the 194 has still got him close behind, but I think we got time for a replay because it doesn't look like they're in immediate battle. I want to say this happened out of the uphill as well. We have another mistake here.
Yep, we did. Espinosa coming here a little bit too hot, gonna run wide and go over the steeper side of the jump, and then go into the grass, having to lift off the throttle a bit, and that's a very easy overtake for Julia Palacio as a result of that.
Remember, we said he was the highest qualified BMW. I wonder if the BMW just isn't very good in qualifying at this track, because in the race, he's just steadily been moving forward and moving forward. Now, granted, he's got, looks like a 3-second gap to make up today, but some of that could be due to just being stuck behind slower cars up to this point.
Yeah, you saw the gaggle for P number 2 and P number 3 earlier on. For example, David and all those guys being involved in the battle. Espinosa was in that one. That's gonna cost time. And we saw also the almighty start that Diego Morales had. So he's been able to pull up some gap. But now that Palacio is in clear air, and if he doesn't get any more challenges by Espinosa or by Avital or the guys coming through the field, then we might be seeing the real pace of this BMW, of course, traffic prohibiting. Or traffic allowing, rather. Not prohibiting, hopefully.
Whichever way you want to look at it.
Exactly.
Back with James David. He's caught up to Avital now. Simon trying to hold on to this 5th place that he's climbed up to. And wow, look at him just all over that rear wing already. So we now ride on the dashboard of the number 89 and our championship points leader. He doesn't want to give away too much to those behind him, even though he's got that 19-point buffer coming into round 6 here today. Up and over the crest, looking nice and smooth in his Porsche. Let's see if he can get the shot off of the diving turn. That's where all the drivers are wanting to really try and set themselves up. He holds it tidy down to that inside curve, tidy off the corner as well. This is looking good. A little bit of a defense from Simon. Not much of one, though. And even though David takes a peek, he decides better of it. He's going to hold put.
Yeah, getting a better entry though, and I think he saw how late Simon Avital was braking into that corner. no way he can, just send one up the inside and break even later. He tried that once, will not try that again, I suppose, in this event. And interesting thing to note was how lazy the defense by Simon Avital was there. And I'm gonna call it what it was. It was lazy. I mean, if James wanted to go alongside, he would have had a chance. Oh, and he gets very loose on the uphill corner, uphill bend.
Seems to be a theme I've seen with a few drivers so far this race.
Yeah. And it's gonna happen because he's clipping that curb on the inside. And when you're clipping a curb on the inside and you're driving an uphill corner, which is what that was, it's gonna overload the left side tires momentarily. And that's gonna throw the car into a bit of a slide because the tires are gonna break traction. And he got a little bit loose as a result of that, but he also managed to save it quite nicely. As Palacio is in quite a bit of traffic in front of them in P number 3.
Yes, he is. And we saw a big off there from David. Diving through that last time by. So Espinosa getting on the radio. I'm not sure what about. Might be this traffic, but he's only just now getting to that traffic. Unless he's... Oh, and it is for the traffic. He's just shouting blue flags I can hear now. So a bit of Kimi Räikkönen moment there for the 87.
Yeah, Brett Barrett, poor Brett Barrett, just trying to mind his own race. He's in 26th, and mind you, these guys are... Oh, that's a late... What happened to Espinosa?
He touched the grass. Espinosa with a big mistake, and that cost him 2 spots to Avital and David. Let's watch the replay. He saves it.
Nicely done.
He's lucky that the pit entry was there, or else he would have hit more grass on the other side of the track.
Yeah, I thought he was pitting. I was sure he was pitting. Because I took my eyes for a moment. I was watching the cars going to the other end of the pit straight from the windows of our booth, and then I turned my eyes when I saw him, and I was like, oh, he's pitting. He's braking so late, and then I realized he made a mistake when you said it. So that was a very good save by Espinosa. Unfortunately for him, means 2 positions lost, as Brett Barrett now takes very well out of the way.
Let's get a replay on Prue and Daly here, because they were side by side. Oh, they might be side by side. No, a little bit of a look as a car is off. That is Brett Barrett letting them through. But yeah, Daly and Prue were side by side for a good 3 or 4 corners there a lap ago. Let's take a look at it. I think we got that replay spooled up now. There was a little look you saw, but he's not able to make the pass, or is he actually? If we come back later, he is once again side by side. It looks very similar to what we're seeing on the screen right now, actually. And you can see through the left-hander, neither willing to give up, and then into the no-name straight. Eventually, Prue is going to prevail.
Great racing by both of these guys. You can see the respect there. Both of them, trying their hardest to pass, but there's also that bit of respect in that I'm not gonna take your space away from you completely, and I trust you not to do the same to me. And that's what you need to do if you want to run side by side for more than one corner. Because in too many cases, side by side battles end at the apex of the corner when both of the cars are aiming for that same spot. And Prue got running a little bit wide in the last corner there and losing a bit of time.
Don't blame the drivers, because I did a league race here at this track a few weeks ago, and I did that a lot coming out of the diving turn. Now, Matt Odell was in pit lane, or is in pit lane right now. Is this scheduled? We're past a third of the way through. No, this is not scheduled. He had a wreck in Big Bend, and he found the tires.
Can I just say he had a great race up until 10 because he started from the pit lane, as I mentioned earlier, and he was all the way up to around the 15th place. And 10 he just had a wreck. So, not a victim of Lime Rock Park, and ironically, and he's out of the race as well. And ironically, it is the driver who was, starting from the pit lane because he wanted to play it safe, and then he ended up retiring in a single car incident, but that's how treacherous the track is.
Genet having a lot of action from behind here, the 927, trying to see if he can get by. And out behind them, Stacy Hunter is a lapped car, so if you see any sight of that, that's not for position. And in fact, they're coming up on another lap car. This is Mignon, we mentioned before. Genet following him up through the uphill. Is he going to be able to pull over to the side? It looks like for one car. I don't know about for two, though. In fact, yes, he's going to be a little bit in the way for Jean-Marc Tremblay, and that's going to hold him up significantly here.
Yeah, because he tried to go to the inside too into the next corner, but the downhill turn, it's not an overtaking opportunity, and there's nothing the lapped car can really do there other than, slow down completely or start taking off tracks. But the thing is, if you start to go the way of what some drivers often end up doing, some of the drivers here as well end up doing, which is to drive into the grass and, go very wide and almost stop completely to let the traffic through, you might as well pit at that point. I mean, at that point, you might as well come to the pit lane because you're not racing anymore. The thing is, I know it's frustrating. I know from personal experience that it's frustrating when you try to get past a lapped car and they're staying on the way for a couple of fast corners, costing you half a second or so. But it is just a half second. It is just half a second. Everybody's gonna be down due to the traffic.
Ooh, Raymond Day falling down the order. He was off track. Did he? Yes, this was his own mistake. This is in West Bend. We've got the replay. Boy, these guys are pushing. It is narrow margins, and here you'll see it as he swings it through just a little bit off into the grass.
And boom. Pow! That was a hard hit onto the inside wall there. Thankfully for him, he was kind of lucky in that he spun onto the right direction. He was able to keep going, and they have the fast repair in this series, and he still hadn't used it. So he came to the pit lane, came to get a new car, did a bit of Formula E, and then goes back to the track.
It comes out right behind a lot of traffic, though. So that is not good news for him, and it was within the pit window. So he is good to go to the end. I have to imagine he lost a few places in the process because cars did go by after his spin and contact with the wall. Meanwhile, Simon Avital, who is now promoted 4th from that mistake, is still being hounded by Espinosa behind him. We'll watch from onboard Andre now.
Yeah, and you can see Espinosa, trying to get those positions. Avital as well, 4th, 5th place. And James David out of nowhere has gotten past them once again, and he's still in P number 3. So James David, can't get rid of that last place of the podium no matter how hard he tries, it seems. But yeah, behind him is where the real battle is at. And Espinosa, he's been defending a lot in this race, but now he's attacking. And I wonder how he can change his mindset from one end to another here. Or is he just going to wait for the pit stops? We have to wait and see.
And David's climb back through is bad news for Morales, because even though he's leading this race and dominantly right now, he's got those 19 points to make up. Now, he will be tied on wins if he stays put where he is, so he will at least be matching James in that sense, but it doesn't matter how many you win, it matters how many points you have come the end of the season. There you see James now riding in P3. Morales, by the way, I said he's got a significant margin. It is 9 seconds over Palacio, who has now been promoted to 2nd place in that Bimmer.
Yeah, and if you look at the lap times, not that they matter with this leading duo right now so much, but Morales, he's doing 53 sixes in this race, 53 fives, 53 3 in there. So he's a bit up and down, I suppose, with the traffic, but once again with a 53 6. So he's getting a little bit slower last couple of laps, and it's not due to the traffic either. And Palacio, he did a 53 6, 53 7, so they are going down in terms of lap times. Nearly everybody but James David, who seems to be a little bit faster than these guys all the while, and he's not that far away from Palacio actually. He's only a couple of seconds away. And by the way, Joe, what we should mention at this point, because pit stops are coming up and the lap times are being compared, and if you at home are a little bit confused as to who is doing what and what the lap times are, you want to compare the pit stop times, or you just want to see on one glance where your favorite driver is, we got something for you.
Yeah, you go to GSRC.tv. We've got all our live timing and scoring. As we see another car in, I see this is either Richards or Matthews. This is Richards. Looks like he's got some damage with it, so I don't think this is scheduled. The reason I was wincing before is we had 2 cars going through. Oh, and Matthews having a very inefficient pit stop, it seems, here. Eventually found his stall and is now getting tires. I was going to say, we had 2 cars going side by side. through diving turn, which you don't often see, but they both made it through. I think that was Espinoza and Avital, two of them that did that. You can see they're still very close on track fighting for 4th place. But now we're starting to get some cars electing to come in as we've hit the final third.
Yeah, we are, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how these drivers deal with the traffic in terms of pit stops. I see a lot of them just leaving it as late as possible, and I think this is the correct option to take when you can't really see what's happening behind you. You can't really gauge the traffic. You might see some traffic, couple of cars maybe battling ahead of you. You might be tempted to go to the pit lane, and then once you take the early stop, you're gonna wind up behind a 5-car battle pack. That's taking no prisoners whatsoever, and then you're going to be stuck there forever, basically, or at least until those guys pit. So these guys are doing the right option. They're playing it safe, playing it as late as possible, and I think it's absolutely the right call. Now Espinoza here looking for his chances. I think he's looking a little bit more opportunistic these last couple of laps, or not opportunistic, more like trying to build himself those opportunities. And this is what you have to do here. You have to set up your overtake. Just like in the beds, you just can't go to, unless you're in a hotel, and these drivers are not in a hotel, you can't go to a ready-made bed if you haven't made it yourself beforehand. You have to put the sheets there, you have to put the blankets there, you have to put the pillows there, you have to make it nice and comfy in order to be able to overtake. Otherwise, you're going to sleep on a blank mattress, and that's not going to be nice. And blank mattress overtake. What's a blank mattress overtake? Where you saw it from James David early on.
Yeah, unfortunately not quite as comfy as they come down into Big Bend one more time. Very deep there for Avital once more, and staying very tucked in down to the apex. Espinoza gets a little bit of a look, but can't do anything with it. Raymond Day still is our highest pitter in what we can call an accidentally intentional pit stop, I guess, as he's now been promoted, or will be promoted up to 11th soon, as Cristelli has now put it in front of him, waiting for our other front runners to come out down to the pit lane to try and figure out exactly where Day will shuffle out, because his scenario certainly makes it a unique situation. Back onto the front stretch one more time. Espinoza, I think he's a prime candidate here for maybe trying something different from Avital, maybe coming in a few laps earlier on those pit stops.
Yeah, especially if he can't find a way to overtake. But the thing is, he's not in a bad situation here. I don't think he should do it, considering the traffic, because you look at what Avital has in front of him. Avital has David Cristelli in terms of lapped cars, and then it's a whole lot of emptiness. So, he shouldn't pick it right now because the traffic is elsewhere. If the traffic is not in front of you, it is somewhere else. And meanwhile, further behind them, we actually got a halfway decent scrap for what I believe is the 12th place. Yep, and
Yep.
Cochrane involved in that one. He's gonna pit.
Yeah, he just ducks out of it now, but he was overtaken both by Simkovic and then James Nunn, who got caught out by him pitting in. Now, you might recognize a car amidst them. That is Diego Morales. That's our leader. He is lapped up to 11th and 12th place right now. Some of the drivers that he's lapped have pitted, so that's not totally accurate. But even still, tells you how short this track is, how quick the laps are. James David, in the meantime, our championship leader, is in. Tremblay has joined him. Where is David, or Day rather? He's coming around West Bend right now. So David will be out ahead of him. Will Tremblay be able to be ahead of him by the time his stop is done? He's moving. The Canadian heading back on track. Day is just now coming past the start-finish line. So indeed, David and Tremblay will be ahead of Raymond when they cycle through.
Yeah, Raymond lost so much time with his accident early on, and of course he's lucky that didn't end his race. But when he spun out, when he was low on the grass, he was shuffled all the way down to 8th place and so on. And since then he's been, lapping decently but not excellently. So definitely one mistake that he wasn't able to bring his race back from.
They've been listening to the broadcast. Espinoza deciding, yes, I do want to try and pit earlier, as he is not in there with Avital. He keeps going, does the number 23, while we see the 87 getting his fuel and is on his way. Where is he going to be out in terms of Tremblay? Because Tremblay is just behind him, and he's going to be out easily ahead of the 927. Espinoza between David and Jean-Marc now.
Yeah, and that's a good pit stop for him. Good timing. And David gonna be ahead of him. Yes, he pitted a little bit earlier. And Espinosa, a lot of empty space in front of him. Now I wanna see where on the racetrack do we find Avital. Well, no
Oh, front
Avital is
stretch.
actually behind Cristelli, still in a bit of traffic, and Hotham as well. So he might be compromised this couple of laps.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't respond and pit immediately just to follow suit because he would have seen him duck away in his mirrors. Meanwhile, Prue is also in, so he's going to hand over a lot of these top positions to our other leaders who've been in and out. The sun getting awful low and the temperatures have been steadily dipping as the race has gone on, down to 73 degrees Fahrenheit currently, with very little winds, and our leaders in.
Yep, he's in. He's very much in, and let's see how this goes for Diego Morales. Well, he doesn't have many big risks, really, here. If he just has a normal stop, he has 8 seconds behind him, 8.5 seconds, so he can even afford to take a couple of laps of extra fuel as well.
Here's where it gets
Should be
interesting.
fine. Yeah.
Palacio's also pitted. I see Janae has pitted, but Avital stays out yet another lap. In fact, Byron Daly seems to be another one that stays out. Ted Lowendick, just a few cars that are able to stretch it on good mileage. Palacio comes back out on the track. Morales returns in what should become the lead, as he is now our highest pitting car. As we heard Ozzy mention, very little chance of his strategy going wrong here.
Yeah, but another interesting point for Avital is that he's got Cristelli in front of him, David Cristelli, in P number 13. Cristelli has pitted already, and he is almost 1 lap behind. The thing is, Cristelli is not doing a bad pace, so Avital wasn't really hindered by him at all. And here he comes to the pit lane, and theoretically, this is the fastest strategy. This is the optimal strategy, but we'll see where he falls once this is all over. And once again, viewers, we are comparing him to Andres Espinosa. So it's Espinosa versus Avital for the 5th place on the track, I do believe.
Lowendick also pitted, but Daly has stretched it farther than anybody. Espinosa is going to come out ahead of Avital, and just barely. It worked out for Andre.
Yeah, that's very good from Andre Espinosa, and he didn't have to make the overtake on track. He was able to do it on strategy, and here we go, Espinosa showing his strategy was a little bit better this time around. Avital wasn't able to pick laps in and as a result, losing that position. Palacio ahead of them, he has pitted already. You know what? David's ahead of Palacio.
So he jumped him in the pit stops.
Yep, and that means net 2nd place for James David.
That's because Byron Daly is finally down pit lane. Only he and James Nunn were able to make it to this lap 36. Morales takes the lead back. David, who is about 7.5 seconds behind, has actually been gaining on Morales, because remember, the gap from Morales to Palacio was 9 seconds. So David has a little bit of time to try and reel him in, but I think this is going to be too little too late, and James's mistake early on may have cost him a victory.
Yeah, very well so. I mean, he was a little bit too anxious, and I'm not sure if he would have had the pace to match Morales, because Morales, has no reason to go fast at this point, but it would have been very interesting to see. And the good thing is that we're going to be watching these guys race on for the championship all the way to the end of the season. So, we have a chance to watch these guys again to find the answers to the questions. James David is a little bit hindered there by the traffic, and that's what happens so very often, and that's where you have to really be careful. Corner exits, you want to maximize it, but some guy ahead of you who is a lap down, who may not be the caliber of driver you are, and that's why they are a lap down. They might be, lifting a little bit on the exit because they think they're running wide. They have to be a little bit more cautious. And you have to kind of anticipate that and give them the space as well. Because the last thing you want to do to a lap driver is to make them panic. That's when mistakes and accidents happen.
Let's head back to P6. Tremblay being chased by Genet and Daly currently. So I got a bit of a 3-car train, but you wouldn't know it because they are very much stuck in the thick of traffic right now. Stacy Hunter in front of Tremblay, probably at a bit of a bad spot. He is going to be able to look to the inside, and he's going to brake, let 1, 2, and 3 of them through.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's why Dunnigan is in the spotters stand right now in this race.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you need those extra pair of eyes to kind of help you understand what the situation is.
No. Stacy Hunter.
Aha. As I see. Meanwhile, there was a
Slower.
bit of a look down into turn 1 there. That was Genet trying to put one in on Tremblay and then getting very sneaky down into the left-hander, showing his nose, but they'll stay put in 7th. Daly behind them, sitting in the catbird seat. If they start battling, could be a great opportunity to get a 2-for-1.
Yeah, very much so. The popcorn position, the catbird seat, whichever you want to call it. Barn Daly looking to the inside actually right now. And this is not the place where you want to usually go, but a great job for him keeping the line and getting a good exit as well. Chine was a little bit lackadaisical on the outside. He was a little bit slow on the outside, you know. Maybe a little bit surprised as well, but Barn Daly on the inside of the penultimate corner and making the move forward. And now he has to catch up to Tremblay.
Flashing his lights at him. Genet wants to back on. Oh, speaking of coming back on, there is a driver returning to course. That was Sean Foes, and that put off Daly. He's trying to hold on to the spot as he holds on to his car, off track, back on track, through the left-hander, and he doesn't lose it. Genet couldn't make the overtake. How about that for Byron Daly?
Wow, that was excellent defense, and what a surprise for him, you know. Middle of the big bend, you see car coming to track. Sean Foes, I must say, a little bit of a foe in that situation. Not your friend, definitely a foe there coming back to the track, and Barn Daly had a scare of his life, I think, but somehow was able to hold on. And as a result of that, still sits in that 7th place. Arnaud Genet trying to catch up to him, and they both trying to catch up to Jean-Marc Tremblay, who's sitting in the 6th place. And must say, Tremblay, he's had a quiet race. Started 7th, he's 6th, but that's what you want at Lime Rock, I think.
Here I say he made a faux pas in his bad re-entry. Oh. So, and Raymond Day off course with Stacy Hunter. What happened here?
Here we go. We're gonna see a replay. No. It's gonna be on the big bend, and well, you know, Stacy is just very slow on the main straight. You're gonna see him braking on the main straight just at the 600-yard mark. And, you know, Raymond Day has no idea to anticipate that, nowhere to expect. He just hits him in the back and then, boom, clamps into the turn 1 wall. Here we're going to see it once again. And, you know, that was a bit late. Maybe if we can rewind that from the start of the main straight, we're going to see what Raymond Day will see there. And here we go. Great job by our director, Sean there. So, if we jump on board right now, you know, how do you anticipate this when you come into the first corner? All you're caring about is taking the optimal line, and just somebody slamming brakes so early. Yeah, I know it looks silly, but there's just no way you expect that as a racing driver.
Day is going to take a big hit in the points with that one. As you can see, he had to take a tow, and he is now on pit lane. Meanwhile, as we jump back here, let's see, as we watch one of our cars come on to the front stretch, looks to be Espinoza, still ahead of Avital. Boy, what a savvy move that was to get himself that track space, because he hasn't dropped him.
Side by side for 6th place as well. We got Barn Daly and Jean-Marc Tremblay side by side here, and Daly's gonna get through. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was surprisingly quick job by Barn Daly.
Boy, a lot of speed for Byron, especially late in the race. That car looking very nice. He started in 9th. That puts him up to P6 with that move. An overtake on Jean-Marc Tremblay.
And look at how much time Arnaud Genet has lost these last couple of laps to Byron Daly. I mean, Genet is a couple of seconds back. He was right on his tailpipes just a couple of laps ago. And now I'm wondering, well, no, 5th place, no chance there. Avital is like half a lap away. But still, that's an amazing performance by Byron Daly late on in this race.
Well, bad news for me, I guess, is that we're getting ready to hit lap 45 soon, and we got 5 minutes left. It's looking like none of us were going to be exactly right, but you'll probably be the closest here, Ozzy, as these two swing it into Big Bend one more time.
Joe, It's almost as if I know what I'm talking about.
Don't doubt a Finn on racing knowledge. I guess that's the lesson in this. Meanwhile, as the drivers come towards the end of this race, a lot of the battles have started to be separated a little bit. So here's our leader on screen, the number 22 of Diego Morales. Put it on pole. He said that would be a critical moment, and he has proven it to be very, very true. He's held it with both hands and clutched it to his chest. And even though James David, who qualified down in third, has climbed up to second and cut it down about 6.3 seconds, he has not had the cleanest of races for him. It's been a bit mistake-ridden. Will that have an effect on his championship? It's thankfully damage limitation for him today.
Yeah, very much so. After that mistake early on, he's been pretty fast late on. And I must say, after that mistake, he did a great job of gathering himself. He made two mistakes, in fact. He went wide on the downhill turn, and then he tried that desperate move on Espinosa up into turn number one and lost even more time. And since then, he's been absolutely flawless. He's been getting those positions. He's been fast when he needs to be, James David, and he's clawed his way back to second place, which is, as we say, first of the losers. But in a championship, it also means, that he's able to minimize his losses on those mistakes. So the mistakes are not going to be as expensive as they could have been otherwise. If we talk about expensive mistake, Raymond Day, the first one he made, not the second one. I don't think that was on him. The second one was his environment, and it could have very easily been James David as well, had his luck been worse.
That's very true. Some of you may have noticed that Philippe Magnan is tumbling down the order. He's taking a second pit stop because, remember, he was involved in that big wreck diving turn. His stop was too early, so he could not make it to the end without a second one, causing more insult to injury. Unfortunately, here very, very late in the day. Speaking of which, it's an awful dark here. It's like just past 8 o'clock virtual standard time here, so they set this one pretty close to sunset.
Yeah, but isn't this track just glorious on the sunset?
Oh,
I love
yes.
it. I mean, those hills, those rolling hills you see around, it's like a little paradise, And I've never been to Lime Rock Park. I've never been to United States at all. In fact, I've never been outside of Europe, if you don't count Russia. You don't actually. But yeah, anyway, I've never been outside of Europe. So to me, I imagine Lime Rock Park would be like you come in this small country road that is unmarked, and you have to find this place yourself. But I can just imagine when they started finding out this place, the geniuses in the 50s who decided, let's build a racetrack here. Yes, please do that. Please find more places like this where you can build racetracks, because this is great, honestly.
I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see that mountain course that was planned. I've seen schematics of it. It looks fantastic. So I hate to do it to a classic track, but it'd be cool to see them carve that out of the hillside and have that added to this. But anyways, I digress as we continue to watch this battle here through the left-hander and then out of the right-hander, the S's sometimes it's called, onto the no-name straight. This is Espinosa and Abdal stuck together for a good majority of this race.
Yeah, indeed, and they're still at it. All the way to the end. Davital, he lost out in the pit stops, remember, because he left it all the way to the end, and he's been trying very hard, and you can see him. You can just see on the language of that car, the so-called body language, but not the body of the driver, the body of the car. And you can find out surprisingly lot about how someone's race is going by the way they're handling their car. And to me, Simon Avital looks like he's absolutely, on it right now. His car may not be under him as well as he would like. He's starting to get a little bit lost on tires. His tires are wearing out. He's stepping out in a couple of corners where the car is right on the limit, but he's still trying his best. You can see him going a little bit wide once again. And that's not the line he would take if he had a choice. But right now he just has to maximize those exits, meaning he's going to allow his car to slide wide. You're going to see it there once again. And this traffic is his chance. You got Christopher Richards right in front of you. And if Richards doesn't get out of the way on the main straight, then he may have a chance into the big bend and then the left-hander and the right-hander.
Some quick screen time for the number 711 car, John Cochran, has come up from 26th to 13th. Now, he is a lap down, but there's no shame in that around this track. You can see him coming around to the last lap. He's getting the white flag because our leader has already gotten that white flag. Diego Morales is already to the uphill. It's still 6 seconds. He's stopped the bleeding to James David, so either James has slowed up the pace or Diego's picked up his pace. Either way, it's going to be a handy gap here at the end. Down through the diving turn and up to the finish line as the checkered flag now comes out. Diego Morales going to win for the second time this season and here in Connecticut.
Splendid job by him and splendid rise by James David as well. And how about Julio Palacio? He's the highest placed BMW both in qualifying and the race. Gonna round out your podium. 10 behind him you see Espinosa and Avital coming across the line. And 10 we wait a little bit for the 6th place. Byrne Daly, Jean-Marc Tremblay and Arnaud Genet gonna finish in that order. And we got Ted Lowendick, 9th place. He's moved 7 places up, and Sebastian Prouard rounding out your top 10.
Going to be the last of the battles. There you can see on screen, that's Hotham trying to overtake Simkovic. They're a lap down, and it doesn't quite work out for him. Last car in the lead lap, going to be 11th place. Cristelli, who crosses right now. But that's our winner. We'll come back here after a quick break. Diego Morales celebrating his victory here at Lime Rock Park. We'll come back with driver interviews as well as the unofficial results. Don't go away. Welcome back to Lime Rock Park. Round 6 here in the PRL GT4 Clubsport Series was won by Diego Morales, matching James David with his second win, but still has a ways to go in the points. David came home behind him, minimizing his damage, but certainly had uncharacteristic mistakes today. Julio Palacio finished in P3, climbing up from 6 and making good with his BMW when it didn't look like the car to be in today. Andre Espinoza took 4th with Simon Avital behind him in P5. Those two just went back and forth all day today. Byron Daly with a nice 6 was ahead of Jean-Marc Tremblay in 7th. Then you got Arnaud Genet in 8th position. Ted Lowendick, a nice climb from 16th to 9th there for him. Sebastian Prue rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, he was certainly slick, Ted Lowendick today too. David Cristelli, 11th place. Last car on the lead lap too, finishing on the lead lap at Lime Rock, always a good achievement. Chris Richards ending up 12th ahead of John Cochrane and Spencer Semkovic. Brian Hotham 15th. Then it's Mathieu Bellavens, Piotr Margula, Frank Kroijmans, Philip Magnan, and Brett Barrett rounding out your top 20. And then we're gonna get quickly to your list of last couple of drivers. Aaron Law, 21st, Stacey Hunter, 22nd, Sean Foss, 23rd, and retirements, Brian Matthews, Raymond Day, Glenn Bowen, James Nunn, Matt Odell, and Kenny Rodriguez as well. Joe, a very interesting race, very exciting race for Lime Rock, and very good race for the person you're going to talk to next.
Indeed, that is our winner, Diego Morales. Diego, I have to imagine that when you saw that you wound up with pole in the qualifying, that alone had to be a bit of a relief at this track.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we know that this track's like really hard to pass, and there's a lot of traffic. We see that a lot here. So I was trying like really hard to get the pole. At first place, I was like struggling a little bit on the first laps, but I saw that when the tires got the right temperature, was like better. So yeah, I tried until the last minute, and when I got the pole, I was like so happy. So yeah, good thing to happen for the qualifying here for sure.
So this puts you at least even in terms of wins with James David, but you've got a bit of a gap to make up in terms of points. Do you think it's possible? Because it seems like he's been quick and consistent this season.
Yeah, James is like really fast. It's really hard to keep up with him. And I had like some bad results at the beginning at the championship, so I think that gap comes from there. But I'm trying my best. I'm like practicing a lot. But he's really fast. I was happy that he was like third today on the qualify, but at the end of the race, I saw that he finished second. So really hard to keep up with him. But yeah, it's a fight. We need to try. So yeah, do our best and let's see how it goes.
Speaking of how it goes, looking towards the future, the next round is going to be at the Nürburgring. Before you panic, it's going to be at the Grand Prix course. Do you consider that one a good track for you?
Yeah, I actually never drove on this track with this car, so will be a new one for me. It is a track that I like for other cars. I think that will be fine. When we need to practice and see how it goes, but I'm confident that I think that will be fine. Yeah.
Well, again, congratulations on the win. Before we let you go, anybody you want to thank for the victory?
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank all the We Racing team. Those guys are amazing, always helping me a lot. It's been fun to race with them. We don't have like other members participating here, but I'm sure that on the next one will be. Yeah, and I would like to take my family too. They are always like watching everything. So it's been quite fun since the beginning. Thank you, everyone, and congrats for everybody.
That was our winner, Diego Morales, in the number 22 Porsche, taking the victory. Aussie, in the meantime, has caught up with second place finisher James David.
Yes, hello, James. Championship leader coming into this round at Lime Rock Park. You started on P number 3, but the start of your race wasn't the easiest. First, a mistake at the end of lap 2, and then you had something straight out of Daniel Ricciardo's playbook there. Want to talk about that attempted move on turn number 1, James?
Yeah, that was. I didn't like the setup tonight. I had trouble with the cars all night long. I was fast, but the car wasn't gripping at all. So yeah, mistake there, but this turn is always the one you have to watch at the start of the race. Hopefully, I didn't damage the car or wreck anyone. So I was happy to be able to get back on track, not so far away. I think I was 9th or 10th. So it was a difficult race for me, but I'm happy with the second place.
You should be happy with the second place. How was it coming back from the midfield? As you said, you were in 9th or 10th place, and then you had to take the positions one by one. Not easy to overtake here. So, how was it for you today?
Yeah, the first comeback when I made the mistake on lap 2, I think you mentioned, that was good because the guy in front has a fast pace. That wasn't so bad, but after like 20 laps, when there was lappers and people that wrecked their car, this track is there is no there is no easy race there when you have lappers and everything. And I have to say thanks to the lappers, because it's not easy for the leaders, even for the lappers, to be lap on this track. You're like always trying to let pass someone, so it's not an easy thing. The second time I had looks like a dive bomb on the driver, but I just missed my braking point at the T1 again. That time it was harder to come back after, but I think my pit stop strategy was the right timing. I come back on the track alone, so I have a couple of laps to try to be faster and gain position.
Yes, and you did very well. A defensive victory for you, then, James. And well, good luck for you on the championship battle, and good luck for you at the next round at Nürburgring, James.
Yeah, thank you guys for streaming us, and thanks Global Sim Racing. See you next time.
See you, James. And next up, we have the final driver who joined these two warriors on the podium, as well as the highest placed BMW. Joe Peak's going to talk to him next.
Yes, Julio Palacio joins us. And Julio, as was mentioned there by Ozzy, the highest qualifying and highest finishing BMW. Was this not the car to have today? Because it seemed like a lot of Porsches were up at the front.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things, and this was an interesting track because in all those slow corners, it seems like the Porsche is much better. But with that long straightaway and being able to carry some of the power, we're able to hang in. So it was kind of one of those things where the starting position was critical in terms of trying to qualify. And I actually want to shout out to my teammate, Andres Espinoza, who finished right behind me, and we worked pretty closely together. I think that really helped, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it seemed like he managed to take advantage of another number of other people's woes, as well as just staying quick and consistent out there. I did notice you had a pretty good start as well. Were you kind of eyeing that after your qualifying, thinking, "All right, I gotta be aggressive here to make up what I can"?
Yeah, one of the things I noticed, and I did a couple of practice races, obviously on the iRacing side, it was like if you could get the inside into turn one, that was going to help tremendously. And I was able to actually do that. And then from there, I was able to hang in. And then a couple of us were kind of talking. Actually, three of our teams were pretty close, so we were talking. Let's go single file, try to create a gap, and then we can go ahead and then kind of fight to see where things actually go.
Now, this is a bit of an odd track in the fact that it's almost entirely right-handers, and they're almost all fast corners, those right-handers. How was the car feeling at the end? Was it sort of did the setup have to take into account that uneven wear that you were probably getting?
Yeah, one of the things that I in the league races, I mean the iRacing races were 30 minutes, and I realized the other day when I did it that after about 20 minutes you start to lose the front tires. So one of the things, and we talked about it in our kind of our team meeting, was going into turn one, back it up as you get later in, and then just kind of be a little patient in terms of all the turning because the front tires were definitely taking a beating, and the fact that the car's front wheel it's front engine, there's a lot of weight up there. So the key to this race really was trying to manage those front tires and just kind of hanging in, and obviously watching out for other people's luck and see what could essentially happen there.
Well, again, congratulations on a podium. And is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to thank PRL and obviously you all in terms of GSRC, and obviously my team, Speedworks Racing Team. It's been great working with them, and I do want to give a shout out to my dad who actually watches these things. So thanks all for everything that you guys do.
Awesome stuff. Well, hopefully he enjoyed that. The man from the land of peaches, Julio Palacio, takes a third today here in the number 194 BMW. That's going to close us out, though, for our interviews and our broadcast, with a big thank you as well to the PRL, the Precision Racing League, for bringing us on. Also, we want to remind you, if you're looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions, from official series sponsorships to commercial placements, we have advertising options customizable to suit your company's needs. Follow the link in the description to learn more. Big thanks to the sponsors of the series, of course, starting with NinjaTrader. You can find them at NinjaTrader.com if you want to check them out. And also, if you're a sim racer that wants an awesome rig, check out SimRacing Canada at SimRacingCanada.com. And then, of course, there's ButtKicker. If you want to add that bit of realism to the rig, they can be found at theButtKicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Ozzy, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or check out our social media, where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. We've also got our merchandise store linked in the YouTube description down below. That's just gsrc.storenvy.com. Make sure and check that out and see if you want to grab something, but also subscribe to the channel while you're there. If you see a big red button, it means you haven't subscribed yet. Click that. You won't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race going to be at Nürburgring, as I mentioned. Grand Prix course, though, so it's not the big behemoth. That'll be Tuesday, July 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.